The Bold and the Beautiful may have let Finn find Steffi and Lee take down Poppy in its August 5 episode, recapped here. But that doesn't mean that all of the drama is over. On the contrary, for poor Poppy, it's just about to begin. Prepping for the September 6 episode, portrayer Romy Park shares a behind-the-scenes photo that she captioned, "The Quiet Before the Storm." And by storm, I mean tomorrow's episode. That may well turn out to be an understatement, as the episode in question will find Poppy trying to wrap her brain around the fact that A, she's being sprung from jail, and B, she's being sprung because, gulp, her own daughter killed Tom and Hollis. As if that wasn't a big enough shock, Poppy will be dealt the terrible blow that Luna was perfectly willing to let Mom rot behind bars while she went on living the high life at Bill's. What happens next may be even more painful for Poppy. At some point, she'll have to acknowledge that boyfriend Bill didn't do diddly to get her released. Can you imagine him taking such a course of inaction if it was Katie in the hot seat? Poppy may be forced to admit that Bill just isn't that into her. After that, our hope is that Poppy will do what she's had to so many times in her life, pick herself up by her bootstraps and start over. And we know just the man to lend her a sympathetic ear, even if it will open a whole new can of worms. Poppy sat in the stark, cold cell, her thoughts a whirlwind of confusion and disbelief. The past few days had been nothing short of an emotional roller coaster, and despite the silence of her prison surroundings, her mind raced with the thunderous noise of her life unraveling. It was the calm before the storm, and though she had heard that phrase many times in her life, today it felt like an omen. How had it come to this? She stared at the ceiling, trying to make sense of the puzzle pieces that led her here. One minute she was in love, blissfully unaware, and the next, she was in jail, falsely accused of crimes she didn't commit. Her daughter Luna, her own flesh and blood, had betrayed her in a way that stung more than the cold concrete floor of her cell. Just as Poppy allowed herself to sink into the depths of despair, a sound echoed through the hall. The unmistakable jingle of keys, followed by the heavy creak of the cell door, made her heart leap. "Poppy," a voice called out, one that she never thought she'd hear again. Chapter 2. The unimaginable truth. Poppy squinted as the light flooded into her cell, revealing the figure of her attorney standing beside the warden. "You're free to go," the attorney said with a mix of relief and hesitation. Poppy blinked, trying to process the words that felt foreign in her current reality. "Free? How was that possible?" Poppy asked, rising from the bench slowly, as if any sudden movement would snap her back into the nightmare she had been living. The attorney hesitated. "It's complicated. You've been cleared of all charges, but I need to tell you something before we leave." As they walked through the winding halls of the prison, Poppy listened in disbelief as her attorney explained the unfathomable truth. Luna, her beloved daughter, had been the one responsible for the murders of Tom and Hollis. Poppy's breath caught in her throat, her legs nearly buckling beneath her as the weight of the revelation crashed over her like a tidal wave. Chapter 3. The Shattered Heart. Once outside, the fresh air felt suffocating rather than liberating. Poppy stood in the parking lot, staring at the sky, trying to reconcile the facts she had just learned with the woman she had raised. How could Luna have done something so monstrous? And worse, how could she have let her own mother take the fall for it? Poppy was released because the truth had finally come out. Luna had been living a high life with Bill, while her mother rotted in jail for a crime she hadn't committed. It was unforgivable, and the realization tore Poppy's heart in two. Luna's betrayal felt like a knife, twisting deeper with every thought. But the betrayal didn't stop there. As if it wasn't enough that her daughter had let her take the blame, Poppy was also forced to confront another bitter truth. Bill, the man she had once considered her refuge, hadn't lifted a finger to help her. Not one call, not one visit. If it had been Katie in her place, Poppy knew things would have played out differently. The thought sent a sharp pang through her chest, and it became clear Bill just wasn't that into her. Chapter 4. A love-lost Poppy stood outside Bill's mansion, her emotions swirling like a storm as she prepared to face him. She had spent too many years building herself back up from Hartich, only to have her trust shattered once again. When Bill finally emerged, his usual smug demeanor only fueled her anger. "Bill," she began, her voice firm, though her heart was breaking, "I trusted you. I thought you cared about me. How could you let me sit in that jail cell while you did nothing?" Bill's cold, indifferent gaze barely wavered. "Poppy, it was complicated." Complicated. Her voice rose, the pent-up frustration of weeks behind bars spilling over. You didn't do anything, Bill. Not a single thing to help me. I was your girlfriend. I thought I meant something to you. Bill crossed his arms, shrugging nonchalantly. You're blowing this out of proportion. The words were like a slap in the face. In that moment, Poppy knew Bill wasn't the man she thought he was. She had been a convenience to him, nothing more. And now it was time to walk away for good. Heartbroken but determined, Poppy made her way back to her apartment, staring at the familiar surroundings that now seemed foreign. She had lost so much in such a short time: her daughter, her love, her sense of security. But if there was one thing Poppy knew how to do, it was to survive. She had started over before, and she could do it again. It wouldn't be easy, and it wouldn't happen overnight, but she would rebuild. This time, however, she knew she couldn't do it alone. The knock on her door came at the perfect moment. Poppy opened it to find a familiar face standing in the doorway, one that had been a source of comfort many times before. Hey, the man said softly, his kind eyes filled with concern. I heard what happened. I came to check on you. Poppy smiled weakly. It was Liam, steadfast, reliable Liam, who had always been there in her darkest moments. She gestured for him to come in, grateful for the familiar comfort of his presence. I don't know how to move forward from this, Poppy admitted, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. Liam pulled her into a gentle embrace. You don't have to figure it all out right now, he whispered. One step at a time, Poppy. I'm here for you. As Poppy rested her head on Liam's shoulder, she allowed herself to cry for everything she had lost, but also for the strength she knew she still had. There would be a long road ahead, filled with more challenges and heartbreak, but for the first time in what felt like forever, Poppy believed she could make it through. And perhaps, just perhaps, Liam would be the one to help her find her way again. Epilogue. A new beginning. Weeks passed, and though the wounds were still fresh, Poppy began to rebuild her life piece by piece. She distanced herself from Bill, confronted Luna, and slowly started to heal from the betrayal. But the most unexpected development of all was her budding friendship with Liam. Though she had never seen him in a romantic light before, something had shifted between them. Liam had always been a good listener, always there when she needed someone to lean on. And now, as they sat together on her balcony, the city lights twinkling below them, Poppy found herself wondering if perhaps their friendship could evolve into something more. For the first time in months, Poppy allowed herself to feel hope again. The storm had passed, and though the scars remained, Poppy was ready to face whatever came next, one step at a time.